Retro gaming handhelds have been incredibly popular over the past few years, spurned on by things like classic console re-releases and the prevalence of Raspberry Pi based retro projects. Devices like the Anbernic RG503 have been cropping up left, right and centre, but this is the first truly budget device that comes with a powerful and beautiful OLED screen. Does that make this the best budget option for those looking for retro gaming on the go? I'm William Worrell with MakeUseOf.com, and today we're taking a deep dive into the Anbernic RG503 retro handheld gaming device. The Anbernic RG503 is a budget retro handheld from the mighty team over at Anbernic, though ours was actually sent to us by the kind folks at Heka. While it's certainly one of the cheaper offerings in the product line, it's not exactly light on features. It rocks a Samsung 4.95-inch colour OLED screen, an RK3566 quad-core 1.8GHz CPU, and a 3500 mAh battery that will keep the system gaming for up to 6 hours. It also comes included with 2 memory cards, a 16GB system card and a 64GB memory expansion card that comes preloaded with a bunch of games. One of the most important aspects to any retro handheld is usability. With many early products like the Retro Stone, issues would arise due to the lack of custom OS. Many of these do-it-yourself devices had problems with stability, often crashing and requiring reinstallation before they could be used again. This has not been a problem with the RG503 during my entire time using it. The custom operating system is a Linux-based clone of Emulation Station, albeit without the high level of customizability which that previous service provides. You also do lose out on the ability to boot into Debian, but honestly it's a fair trade-off for just being able to shove your backups on the device and start playing almost immediately. Not only does it come with a pre-installed custom OS, as well as a bunch of games, you also get yourself a nice screen protector to ensure that the fancy OLED is kept safe. Beyond that, things couldn't be simpler. You can take both memory cards out and connect them to a computer to add your own ROMs, and most of the folders are simply named. It's not hard to either download a backup of a game you want to play, or copy your own discs and cartridges so they can be enjoyed on the go. While usability is certainly an important part of the Anbernic RG503, it's certainly not paramount. The biggest and most important aspect that this device needs to get right is performance. Technically, you can play anything from the Atari 2600 all the way up to the Sega Dreamcast, and even DS and PSP titles to boot. How well some of these ROMs may actually work is the only real question. Obviously, Dreamcast emulation on a device packing only a single gig of RAM isn't going to be perfect, but it's mostly playable in the games that I've been able to try, like Soldiers of Fortune and Sonic Adventure. Yeah, the framerate trugs occasionally, but that's a fair trade-off for being able to play these games portably for this kind of price. Most of the other systems work just fine, but that's not much of a shock. We've had most emulation standards down for quite a while at this stage. Mega Drive works fantastically, as does the Master System. The only systems where things get a bit interesting are the PSP and N64. The PSP just runs a bit slow, but you can get it running a tiny bit faster by messing around with the PP/SSPP settings. And N64 emulation has the same problems that most N64 emulation has, in that it can glitch out and mess up a fair bit, but that's a known quantity at this stage. The PSP slowdown is a bit of a shame, since the PSP is also a great emulation device that, unsurprisingly, doesn't struggle to play PSP games at all. These slight issues aside, that's pretty much all there is to say about the Anbernic RG503 from a pure emulation perspective. Luckily, emulation isn't the only thing that this device does. In fact, there are a plethora of interesting additional features that are certainly worth noting. Firstly, there is a mini HDMI port that you can use to connect to any HDMI compatible devices. This works great and can be easily switched by simply restarting the device with a HDMI cable attached. At this point, it basically becomes like a console, and you can even attach Bluetooth controllers and play with your friends like you're running a real retro system, albeit with crisper graphics. I'd also like to point out that the borders you've been seeing in the footage up till now are completely optional. By default, games are stretched, but you can also have them appear with black borders, or with various different images to fill in the gaps, whatever floats your boat. Going back to connectivity, you'll also be pleased to hear that the Anbernic RG503 includes a 5GHz Wi-Fi card. It's a real treat to be able to scrape game data from various sources, without having to buy anything additional or connecting through an Ethernet port like with some devices. There's also Retro Achievements integration, so you can earn achievements on your older games, and netplay compatibility too, so you can play your retro games online against others without having to do much tinkering. Probably one of the most useful features for PC gamers on this device is the inclusion of Moonlight game streaming. This is a service that allows you to play any PC games on the Anbernic through streaming, utilising the 5GHz Wi-Fi card inside for high performance gaming. Not only does this massively increase the number of games you can play on the device, but it more than makes up for the lack of Android on the device due to the RAM limitations. For a starter, if you know what you're doing, you can use services like Stadia or presumably Amazon Luna, which I can't test because it's only available in the US right now. The final interesting feature of the device is the inclusion of the Kodi Media Center. With this, you can add as many videos or movies as you want, and turn the device into a portable video player. Combined with a HDMI and ability to connect Bluetooth controllers, you can essentially just carry your personal media library around with you, and turn it into a video player with remote control functionality to boot. The only slight weirdness with Kodi is that you have to make sure you turn the volume up in the emulation station-like menu, or you won't hear anything in Kodi at all, for some reason. So far, I've not had many complaints about the Anbernic RG503, but there are a few minor niggles that should be pointed out. One of these slight niggles is the way you connect the device to your PC. So far, I've not been able to figure out a way to actually connect the device directly through USB, with all the file transfer happening through the use of memory cards directly. It's not a huge issue, but it's also sort of a shame. It would have been nice to be able to tinker with the internal files a bit more easily. The only other real issue I have is the aforementioned strangeness with Kodi, which has made it difficult to use over HDMI on a few occasions. With all of that said, is the Anbernic RG503 a practically perfect product if all it has are minor problems? Well, sort of, yeah. While it's far from a perfect device on a technical level, it is incredibly well suited to what it is trying to be. If you're in the market for a high quality but low cost retro handheld, this is without a doubt the best you'll find. It retails for around 130 Great British Pounds or about $150 US, and it's probably the only OLED screen device in that price range. On top of that, it has enough extras and cool features to make it well worth that money, and you can certainly spend lots more on considerably worse products. Thanks for watching our review of the Anbernic RG503, and a massive thanks to the people over at Heka for sending us this product to take a look at. If you enjoyed the video, please leave it a like to help the channel grow, and if you want to see more, subscribe so that our newest videos will be sent directly to you. You can also check out the links in the description, where you'll find the full written version of this review, as well as plenty of other articles, all to make tech much easier for you to understand.